About this. Come on.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. Where is too many options? There we go. Yeah, there we go. Happy Friday. Oh, Ray.
Hello, hello.
Tom.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Hello, Tom.
I'm cold. It's 8 below here.
Wow. All right.
Yep.
Well, here, but yeah, that's,
And windy.
yeah, it's actually windy here as well. That I was telling someone the other day, I'm like, the cold alone's bad, but man, when you throw in some wind, that it's brutal.
Yeah, they said it feels like 34 below here.
Ray doesn't seem to be having that issue. It's
No.
totally good. Yeah. How's everybody doing? Everything good? We have Christmas guy
You
here.
have Santa Claus here. That's great.
How you doing, Dimitri?
Good. Yeah.
Everything good. That's great.
But there was no snow in Belgium, unfortunately.
Okay.
And I have some Australian guests coming over, so it's a pity. Else they would have their first snow at Christmas.
That's for sure. Oh man.
So someone got something to work on?
I've got a question if nobody else does.
Cool. Let's hear it.
Okay, let me share. Oh, wait, before I share, I better oh dear, okay. Open this. No. Open this. Okay, good. Okay, open this. Okay, sorry. Okay, and then got that. Okay, now I'm ready. Share. Figure out which screen. That one. Okay, there. Okay. Do you see illegal character?
Let me see.
You're going to jail. Yeah.
Yeah, so you are I see that you're using V2, right? Inside V2, you cannot use the percent signs like that, how you're doing it. So you see where it says AHK path?
Right.
Put percent signs in that, but that is inside an expression already. Inside expressions, you don't have to use percent signs anymore. So let's go ahead and, so let me see, hold on. Is this for, can I, well,
Yes.
I know what is going on. So I'm gonna request control here. Let me explain. What happens is AutoHotkey toolkit is not written in version 2. It is actually for V1. What we could do, let me just 1 second, is this is AutoHotkey toolkit. Let me see if this works. There it is. This one is actually 32-bit. Try running it again with that change right there. It should launch, right? It should launch with the correct AutoHotkey. Hold on, let me see. So, yes. So right now, did you make it so that it always launches with one? Oh, so I understand. Let me just 1 second. Right now, you have AutoHotkey here. And if you run this with F9, C program files, do you have AutoHotkey installed there? Do you have, where do you have AutoHotkey installed?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Right. So what happens is, let's do this. Hold on. That is one of the issues with having two different languages installed at the same time. We have to tell it what to do. So one of the things here is that the path that this is pointing at might not exist. So let's go ahead and take a look at that first. Copy. I opened the run window. Maybe you got a little window somewhere. Right.
Right. Yeah, okay.
So let's paste there. Hold on. No.
Oh, sorry.
That should open
Cannot
a window.
find.
Exactly. So that doesn't exist. Hold on. Can you say okay? Can you say okay? Let's put, hold on, quotation marks around it. Do you have probably your program files folder is somewhere else, right? So your program, you do not have the program. Let's browse for it then. See program files. You do not have AutoHotkey here.
Can I?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm thinking.
Okay, so you're looking for AutoHotkey, right? Well, not the
It's not.
extension. I don't want the extension though. Just the word. I'm looking for the AutoHotkey. Let me just 1 second there. Maybe without the extension here. Hold on. Right. So C program files. I don't know. That's from ASUS D1 drive document. So this. Oh, okay.
I think it's on D. My guess is it's on D.
So this is one. What is that? No, those are icons still. Oh. Okay, let's do this. Do you have a script that is working?
Right.
Yes, this one. This one is working.
So this one is working. Okay, so let me just
I just got a message. I'll pull it over. I got this message.
Oh no, oh, hold on. You see? Is it possible to see where?
Well, doesn't it say right at the top there?
No, that's where the file is located.
No, but the global variables, wouldn't we have the AutoHotkey
That's
path?
what I'm gonna do. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm gonna do on a script that is actually working.
Yeah.
AHK. So this is V2, I think. Yeah, AHK path. Can you rerun this script? Just run it. You should get a message box. Did you get a message? Yeah. So that is in OneDrive documents to programs. So what that means, let's stop it right here. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so you can continue with your script normally. It might be that your location for this, which is, I just opened an Explorer window. Oh, there it is. That would be on, you said D.
The OneDrive documents 2
Right.
Here, I can do
programs.
thing.
OneDrive documents 2.
Then
Right. Programs, and then AutoHotkey.
Yeah.
Double click on that. Double click on that. Let me see something. Yeah. So okay. So this I would assume is V1. So let's grab
the
this
V2.
path. Right. So this path right here. If we change it here, right? I could close it now. AutoHotkey toolkit. If I press F9, it should launch. You should have gotten kind of like a splash screen somewhere.
Don't see it. Let me
No,
try.
it was just gonna show up and go away. So hold on. Let me just 1 second. is it running? It looks like it's running. This is the debug console here. It says, oh, you have an older version of. So this script requires AutoHotkey. Oh, sorry. I know why. Because I just set up the 64-bit version instead of the correct one. So here, let me make the 32-bit and that, which I could tell it to run the, there it goes. So a splash screen should have shown up.
I see it.
Right. And on your taskbar, if you look at your task icons, there should be one for AutoHotkey Toolkit, which is a black icon with an A, a green A.
Oh, yes, I do see that. Yes.
If you click on that, it would pop it up open.
There it is.
Right. Now, let me double check something because I would say, oh, right. Did you get a message box somewhere? Yeah, you did. So this thing, I see that you have the older version here. So you do not have the switching between the languages. That's okay, but this is only V1 then. So right now you're using just V1.
Should I update? Is there a?
Right, look at that. The path is not there. So no, that's okay. Let me do this. I want to open the folder for AutoHotkey Toolkit is, and in the configuration file, there is this section that says path, I think. Look, you see, no, it's not any of those. These guys. Now, it is trying to use this path, but we already determined that that is not the path. This is the path. Is that right? So now,
Yes.
the only thing that we have to do with this path is copy it and paste it on these guys. Now, this one would be ANSI. I don't know if it is ANSI 32 or something. Yeah, that's okay. 64 would be this one here. And this here, it is V2. V2, and that. We save it. And let's reload the script. Oh, come on. Oh no, because it's F9 actually. Yeah, these buttons here are launching V2 by default, but that's there's a way to fix that. But F9 actually runs V1. So can you open the toolkit? Let's probably, yeah. Let me try something. Let me double check something here. Right, V2. AHK versions. AHK version. You should get a message box there. Oh. I thought I had it. Let's try this. Right, that's not running. How is that? Because V2 32-bit is, let me see, V2 Unicode 32 V2 that is in D1 drive. Isn't that the correct path for V2? Let me. I just opened a window there.
It was just under the V2 folder in that where we.
Right. That's what I was expecting.
No, that's what I saw when the initial one when he did it. That's where it was.
Right, yeah, that's where it is. Yeah, it says 2.0. That's weird. Because I'm pointing to that file. But it's not really running it with V2. It's actually running. Let me refresh the script. Did that pull up the window? I think.
I didn't see the window, but I'll
Yeah.
open it. Okay, there.
Right. Now, if I go here, hold on. V2, right? That should fail, but it's not. So for some reason, oh, so probably doesn't find it and it's using, no, but I don't, well, maybe, yes. That's the one that I have. And if I change it to V2, it would do the same. Yeah, that's still running with that one. So what it's doing is it's not finding the path for whatever reason. Let me see, hold on. All right, so what we're gonna do is I use this is the guy, and when I hit run, then it tries to run this guy here. And can you bring AutoHotkey toolkit again?
Yes, I'm doing. Oh, there. Okay.
Oh yeah. So let me try that real quick. Right. So what is it trying to get right about here? Yeah, that's the one. And now here I have the path to V2, so that's okay. And I'm checking if the file exists. Huh. Right. Oh, hold on. No, that did the wrong one. So it is grabbing the normal. So why is that? Okay, so that's an interesting question. So can you open the
Yep.
right? Let me lose. Oh, I didn't want to. Okay, hold on. Let me get this guy. I put it here in the watch. And this guy, well, we just do that one. Okay. So if I run code, it would stop right here. And when I go over that, Unicode 64 V2 and the path says, yeah, that's the correct path. So this is not working. Okay, and how about this? Yep. For whatever reason, this section here, it's saying that it does not exist, which is interesting. Hold on. Right there. So let's refresh. Can you bring the
Yep.
toolkit again?
Opening,
Right.
moving.
Ray, are you around tomorrow?
I am around tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I mean, spend a couple more minutes, but if you want, I'll join you tomorrow on, just because this is This is
Right.
another really weird thing. That the reason why is I don't think it's going to help.
Yeah, it's not helping a lot of people, but here's the thing.
I'm happy to help
It's
you,
interesting
outside.
that the location looks correct. You see that?
Yeah.
But file exist is saying that the location does not exist. It's coming out empty.
What I would do, and I think Isaiah is going to agree with this, just uninstall and reinstall AutoHotkey, right? And start.
Right. That is so the path exists, but
Yeah.
file exists is saying that it doesn't for whatever reason. That's weird. That I do not understand why that is happening. Because that we just determined, unless there's any misspelling in there, programs AutoHotkey v2. And if I copy that exactly like that, if I just copy that and get that path, AutoHotkey U32. Oh, no. Yes, I know what it is. That v2 does not use the U in their names. I understand what it is now. So if I go to that folder and actually we have it open. No,
Because it's all Unicode.
It's always Unicode, right? Yeah. So here for V2 is either 64 or 32. It doesn't have the U in it, but I put the U in it because I just copy pasted, and that's wrong. So it was a mistake that I made. Okay, so I know that my code is correct. It's just a configuration file for the V2 does not contain the U here. And this would be 64, by the way. And that,
which is another perfect example of why you should always, when you can copy stuff like a path or whatever, it's instead of typing it from memory or it's easy to get a typo or whatever. It's
right.
Generally speaking.
Go ahead. Can you go ahead and yeah. So now if I go to live code and switch to V2 AHK version, that should run and give me a path. There you go. You see, so now it is giving me V2. So it was just about the path being run. So now in your case, here in settings, you can change, you can switch between versions. We do have another version that has it easier to do down here, but you can use this one instead because I don't think you're going to be changing very often. You can just pick one. Yeah, you just pick one. And if you want to change it at some point, then just do it. But at this point, now this is working. You can type in here and run your code and test it really quickly.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, regarding VS Code, I just noticed your configuration. There's a few things that must be done here because you have two different versions of AutoHotkey, and VS Code needs to be configured so that when you run a V1 script, it runs from one location, and when you run a V2 script, it runs from another location. But I will not go into that right now because it's a little bit difficult to just explain what to do. But in any case, the only thing that you have to remember, if you're running a V1 script, just press F9, which is the run command.
Okay.
And that would run it with V1. You don't have to worry about it. The same with V2. If you have a V2 script, just press F9 and it would run V2.
Okay. I'll remember that.
Yeah.
Thank you
The
very
thing is
much.
that this button right here, this button at the top is only for V2. V1 does not have those buttons there.
Got it.
Yeah.
So just because it's depressing, and I know Tom and I have been chatting in the side here about version 2, and since it was just launched, right? I think it's a really, even though we've done a video on it, Isaiah, I think it's a good topic to. Do you want to either demonstrate or just talk through the install process? And that, and I don't actually remember, is that a separate script from Lexicos for the installer to allow it to pick and choose which version?
Let me explain. It's not a different script. It's just, well, let me explain.
Should I stop sharing?
Yeah, please. Let me share my screen.
Whoa.
Yeah,
So
we all know Azace is from another world. So
the download process is the same, the installing process is the same, but once you finish installing, so you just double click, select where you want to install. But once you finish installing, there is something that is going to show up in the end, which is now called a dashboard. So this is at the end of your installing process, you will get exactly this. Now, here's this launch settings. Now, this thing that says auto detect version when launching script, what it's going to do is that all your scripts are going to be launched with this executable instead of the ones that are out here. Okay, so you know that when you install AutoHotkey, you get a few executables like this, and V2, for example, has its own executables, right? That's not what is going to be running at the moment. Everything is pointing to this one executable, which is kind of like a launcher. It decides what to do based on the settings that you set up here. So the settings is auto detected version. If you run, if it detects that is a V1 script, it would just you select what version you want to run with. And if it is a V2 script, which version you want to use. I usually keep them with the latest one that I have installed, so I don't have to think about it. You can independently select whether to choose 32-bit for one and 64-bit for the other. Doesn't matter. But in general, whenever you select this auto detect version, it's going to run this AutoHotkey UX script. So if you on your programs, for example, in VS Code, you tell the extension, okay, when you run a script, run it with this AutoHotkey script, is going to auto select for you as well. So you just have to point to this file instead of a very specific version of AutoHotkey. That's all there is to it. But this is the only thing that is kind of like new, well, kind of like something that you have to configure after you install AutoHotkey, but it by default selects this option and it selects the latest for both, and that's it. And it would ask you if it doesn't know which version of AutoHotkey to launch. So I would definitely just point all the scripts to that executable instead of using anything else. So yeah.
Should I make, are you saying that that's a change that I should make on top of what you've done, or?
But that's for VS Code and the extensions, and that's so each extension here, when you go to AutoHotkey++, when you go to the extensions, if you click on the settings, extension settings, you can tell it what you want to run. In this case, I'm running a very specific version of AutoHotkey. Instead of that, you can tell it use UX, AutoHotkey UX.exe, and that would make the automatic selection for you instead of choosing a very specific version of AutoHotkey. That's all there is to it. But this is done in each extension that launches a script for you. I don't have it that way because I already have it configured some way that works for me. But if you wanted to auto choose for you, then by all means, just go ahead and change that path to the UX path. That's all.
Okay, I understand.
And that can be done, for example, for site, for AutoHotkey, for Studio as well. If it has a configuration location for where the interpreter is, whenever you do that, you just use the launcher instead of anything that has to do with that. So yeah.
And that would only be for the execute field, not the other fields.
No, just the execute, the runner. That's the one that you're looking for. So yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
In Isaiah's, and I'm gonna mangle it here. It says Manjit. I think he had emailed us. Remember, I asked you earlier the week to look at the stuff for the DaVinci Resolve automation with UIA. He wanted to resize the GUIs, and Remember?
Yes,
Yeah,
so one
like-
of the things, yeah, that is something. Let me go ahead and open DaVinci here real quick and explain what he wanted and explain what we were thinking about it when he mentioned it.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and wait for it to launch and
And real quick, Anthony was asking about pulling in his various hotkeys and hot strings from various scripts into one. And I really quickly just said it and said, hey, for the really nice thing about merging multiple into one with hotkeys and hot strings is you don't have to worry, for those at least specifically, the auto exec section, right? Like those should be fine. You don't have to worry about it. Now, when you have other stuff, that's when you merge other files together, that auto exec section becomes really something you got to pay attention to.
we had this call recently, I think last week, exactly having the same issues in the AutoHotkey Heroes group, in which he was trying to merge a few scripts. But if you have stuff that auto execute on those scripts, yeah, that you have to be careful with those and understand exactly what is going on.
Anthony asked, what is the auto exec section? So it's basically the beginning of your script. I would first Google it, right? Like it's in the documentation, but AutoHotkey goes down until it finds the first return or the other stuff, the hotkey or hot string, and then
let me explain while this thing loads for whatever reason it decided not to. Right, this thing is deciding not to launch. But yeah, in the meantime, so when you have a script, let's say it could be any script, you type something like this, and as soon as you double click the script or run it, that gets executed. That is an auto execute thing. It will execute anything you have here until it reaches the first return or the first hotkey or the first hot string. So if you have a hot string as well. So the hot strings, hotkeys, all of that, hotkeys, hot strings, and the word return, the three of them work as a stopping point. The first one you find of those three, it would stop executing stuff automatically. That's what the auto execute section is. It's always at the top of the script until the first return hotkey or hot string. The problem is if you have something below that, this line is not going to get executed. These two, yes. So you would get the first true, the two, but then the third one, you will not going to get it. You see that? For that reason, you would have, so if you want to execute this one instead, you would need a hotkey for that or something, because it's below that stopping point there. So if you have a hotkey now the first two are going to say, okay. Now the third one, if you want to execute it, you have to manually do something for it to get executed, in this case, a hotkey. And now you get that one. So that's what the auto execute section is. And you have to be careful with that when you're merging scripts, because if I have this in one script and it has a return in there, when I paste another script, if it had stuff in the auto execute section and you put it below the return, they're not going to execute anyways. So your script is not going to behave as you're expecting, because there's a section of it that didn't get executed as you thought it would. You have to put it be on the top section. You would have to just move it before the first return hotkey or hot string. So merging scripts is not as easy as 1, 2, 3, but it's not that difficult either. It's just that you have to understand what the auto execute section is and that there's only one. So if you're merging script, all the auto execute sections must be in one place, right?
Okay, Highlander.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Did you get your DaVinci reload?
Oh yeah, actually I did. Let me share my screen again. So what he was talking about, and let me go to, I don't know if he was on a different section. Let me go here. He wanted to drag this out and make the size of this, different. Now, again, as we know, the first step in trying to automate other programs is try to imitate the human, either sending a click or, hitting escape or doing something with how a human would do it. So then he was asking, okay, can I do that with UI automation? Now, UI automation, which is this object that Windows has that allows you to connect to programs and try to interact with the GUI programmatically, allows you to click on stuff or set values to text and so on. But dragging this action is not something that I have seen in UI automation, at least not easily, right? So instead of doing the dragging itself, what I would try to do is get the UI, the element that you want to resize, and just set the width and height programmatically. It's not a drag, it's not like this, but you can set the width and height of it. I do not Windows, let me see, accessibility. I don't think I can do it right away with this particular example, but I could show you more or less what I'm thinking. So here's the highlighter. Notice that this section here, this box, is highlighted in blue, right? Let me see. Oh, look at that. That thing is in itself an element. I don't know how that element works. That is a Q frame. And notice that it has, you see this bounding rectangle? That is usually about the width and height of that particular element. But I don't, let me see, it just has a value, which is one of the issues with UI automation. Different elements have different patterns, and the pattern is just kind of like the action that you can take on it. So for example, if you want to click, you would have to look for something that has a click pattern or toggle pattern. Look at that. This is a toggle pattern. So when you click on it, it toggles between one state or the other. For example, if it is a button, yeah, again, that is a toggle. How about this one? Yeah, those are toggles. So you cannot really click them. It is either on or off. That's what is going on. That's what a toggle pattern is. In others, yeah, again, everything is toggle patterns here. So you would have to find what the pattern is. In this case, there is no dragging pattern. I've never seen a dragging or something like that. That doesn't exist. So you cannot really drag with UI automation, but I could definitely select that element and try to set the width and height of it to whatever width and height I want. And that will probably do what you were asking for, but it's not as simple as you think it is, because the interface, the UI interface, does not have an easy way to drag stuff around. You can click, you can set the text, you can get the text, but you cannot really drag stuff. That's what is going on.
ABD was asking about getting or setting all properties for my local printer, like share. And I was like, yeah, that's not something I would normally be trying to do, but maybe the WMI might have stuff about the printers. Do you know, Isaias, of anything else?
Yes, the WMI has a lot of information about your computer. So anything that your computer has information on, I think you can access it through the WMI. Now, let me double check something. If the WMI object itself, and for anybody who is wondering what the heck we're talking about, if you go to MSDN and look for WMI, we're referring to this guy, the Windows Management Instrumentation. And this is kind of like an interface for you get information about the operating system, and it allows you to automate stuff. Okay, so automate administrative information on a computer. Usually is for remote computers. That's for administrators on a network. But that means that you might have information about different types of information. But this is a huge, it's a huge object. It's not really simple for you to just get information if you don't know what you're looking for.
But we have a really good file with a lot of examples and a
Right.
video on it.
We
So
do,
there's
we
the
do.
chat over my head and stuff. So yeah.
Right, that's one thing. And the other thing is, how it works is that there are providers. There's a director provider, the BitLocker driver, and so on. There must be one. So check, this is the DNS provider and so on, but there must be one that has to do with printing. Oh, there is no, at least print. No, not really. So not directly like this, but there might be inside the Win32 provider, because the Win32 provider probably has a bunch of other things. So again, it's not an easy to navigate object, but if you do understand what you're looking for, it's going to give you a lot of data. And what I wanted to say, even if you don't know what you're looking for, there are functions that you can do. If I remember correctly, there is a no, hold on. The API reference.
There's in the WMI, there's a script called list of shared folders and printers. And then there's also one called shared folders and printers. It's probably the same thing. No, I don't know, but
okay. But here's what I was looking for. Let me see. Win32 API MSDN. Because what they do is that they divide the Windows 32 into different types of things that you can do. And part of it, I would say there is I have seen the printing APIs. Here. Well, no, not exactly. I know that there's an API for printers, and the way how you look for them is in this section. So if you go to anything that has to do with networking, well, you go to networking and you will see all the APIs that are available for networking. Then there is the printing. Then you would go and see everything that has to do with printers and stuff like that. So it is not as easy to navigate, but yes, you will have here we go, the GDI printer drivers, the plotter drivers, the ticket and stuff like that. So again, you have APIs for everything. It's just finding the information is not as easy because Windows is so big, okay? But I guarantee that this information might be also routed through the WMI object so that you don't have to deal with the API directly.
The other option
through it,
could be to look in the registry, right? Like there might
I think that's what the WMI probably, part of what it does is that there's certain type of information that is in the registry. So if you don't want to deal with the registry directly, you can look at the WMI object and it will pull the registry for you. But there's some actions that you can do that has nothing to do with the registry that the WMI also give you access to. So yeah.
Manjit said again, since DaVinci is open, can you check? I can't set actual size of preview with shortcut. And I asked him to clarify because it didn't make sense to me. I didn't know if he meant as use a command line parameter to set the size of the things
Very likable. I'm not sure if DaVinci Resolve saves the sizing of that thing. The first thing that you can try is set a size, close DaVinci, reopen it, and see if the size is already there. If it is, that means that the settings are saved somewhere.
Right.
So either you can pass it as a parameter or just save that in the file that is saved, whatever that is. I don't think so because they use databases, so probably it's in a database file. So, but if DaVinci remembers, and I know that it remembers a lot of settings, by the way. So if it remembers the viewer size, then you might not need to do that.
And until we see some more questions, no, DaVinci actual size or search. No, in DaVinci Viewer. Hold on. No, in DaVinci Viewer, actual size or search it in DaVinci keyboard shortcut. Yeah, I'm still not understanding exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. And which brings up a very interesting point that we had something similar happen is the questions, and we have talked about this before. The question, if it is geared more toward your objective, your goal, it's a little bit easier for us to give you an answer. Somebody just answer, hey, how can I connect to this program? And then we left wondering, what do you mean connect? Do you want to automate certain parts of it? Do you just want to be able to interact with it? What does connection mean in this case? So if you tell me, no, I want to press a key and it does this, at least I know what the goal is and I could guide you in the right direction.
So real quickly, I just shut down and restarted DaVinci Resolve. I opened it, resized the viewers, shut it down, reopened it, and it definitely kept, because the sizes.
Right.
Maybe that's not what he's looking for, but anyway, that does do that.
Again, yeah. So as we're not sure what he's looking for, we're gonna really answer the question.
So to take a step back with what you're referring to, Isaiah, someone submitted a question and said, hey, I tried to use, this has been a wild week. Like besides we've had other crap come up, version 2 of AutoHotkey got released, and the Chat GPT stuff is just mind blowing, right? So we've been going real. And so someone said, I tried asking Chat GPT 3 about using KeyPass and AutoHotkey, connecting KeyPass and AutoHotkey. And that's where we were looking at the question and what he wrote. And I'm like, I don't know if I can understand what he's asking for, and let alone how would Chat GPT, like, I think it was interpreting it much more from an API, doing queries, and I got the feeling maybe that's not what the user's asking for entirely. He just wants to be able to maybe type and have it pull up options from your, KeyPass. But we weren't clear. But definitely the code it provides, because he said, can you verify this code? I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, and a lot of people keep commenting their stuff. Well, I get this, but then it's not code. We're like, we know, right? Like it's right now, it's in the early stages, right? But compared to where it was a year ago, it's amazing. And
now,
wait another 6 months, it's going to be crazy.
The funny thing is, we are overloading Chat GPT in the sense of it is for chatting. It's just answering back to what you just asked. It also is not really correct or incorrect. It's just text that comes back. So it is meant for chatting, not for creating code. We are, how do I say, like, we are using it in a way that it was not designed for, and it is really good at it up to a certain point, but that's not the point of Chat GPT. You should not expect it to be good at it, because that's not what it's for. There is a section of Chat GPT that is meant for code completion, which is Codex. That one, they haven't opened it to the public. You have to have an OpenAI account and go into a certain settings and so on, so you could see the Codex in action and so on. But that one maybe will be better for that. But Chat GPT is we're just forcing it to do something that it's not meant for.
I agree with everything you said. At the same time, I would say it is so good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
In another year, it will be, and whether it's ChatGPT or some other one, right? It will be able to write a lot of our code for us. Like both Ace and I agree, our world has changed. Like if you haven't realized it yet and you haven't played with ChatGPT, and Dimitri chimed in and said something, it's fun for making personal songs. And I'm like, I've been using it like crazy this week, not for programming, but for marketing stuff. Like it's phenomenal at generating stuff and optimizing my headlines and optimizing my intros and writing blog articles. Like it's crazy. And it's so early, right? Like I'm telling you, stop what you're doing, use it, and your mind's going to be blown, right? It's that good. And just remember, again, like as I was saying, like for using it for writing AutoHotkey code, is it perfect? No, not at all. But it can actually kind of point you in the right direction, right?
Right.
And we're going to be, hopefully next week we'll get to it. We're going to load AutoHotkey files into our own environment, because we'll be able to train it, and then possibly we'll get much better AutoHotkey code out of it.
Yeah, that's right.
I never expected to be a, what is it called? A prompt engineer. But it's
Yeah.
turning out to be incredibly, incredibly efficient.
Right. No, but that's a new job now, a prompt engineer. That's a very interesting. Your job is going to be telling the AI what to do, but you have to be good at it because it is very specific. You cannot just simply say whatever you want and it's going to understand you.
It's still a garbage in, garbage out, right?
Right.
Like the sense of, yeah.
And to your point, Joe, you mentioned something. Hey, we had trouble. You and I had trouble understanding what that guy wanted or meant.
Right.
Just imagine then the chat will have way more problems understanding that. So you have to be very, very clear and specific of what you want.
Well, and the wild thing is compared to like Google, right? Chat, generally speaking, unless you ask for it, Chat GPT brings back one answer, right? So if you ask a very open-ended question, and then there are scores like the temperature, and then that, I forget what it was. There was a P, I forget what, there was some other score of in the model. If you're playing with the API and doing stuff, you can adjust the settings to say how creative it comes back, how many different things are used. Is it very liberal versus conservative as far as the answer it gets? And that's why often they'll say, well, just ask it again and ask it again. You see, you don't get the same answer each time you ask it, right? But more importantly, provide more information to it, more specific information to nail down exactly your question, and then go, wow. And even then, take it with a grain of salt, right? You're still going to probably have to tweak it, but wow. I mean, do you want to, Isaias, you want to fire it up and show an example?
I've found that even in the web interface, you can just add like creative in front of as a modifier, and it'll get more creative without having to do it in the back end, without having to use the API.
So Joe, you want me to open ChatGPT itself or?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found a website where they are offering a course in prompt engineering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned from them is add the command in my query, add the command, do it step by step. Apparently that results, that will help Chat GPT to avoid errors, just that phrase.
What the heck? What are those?
Those, Isaias, when you
those are the older
hold on. Type a question and you're going to see, I noticed this in a video I recorded last week. When you type your question, it summarizes your question and puts it as the name of the tab on the left. It doesn't backdate them, but like mine, when you type a new question.
So now whenever I do something, so can you give me an example of what you were trying to
create a GUI and AutoHotkey, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. That has name and date or something, right?
The user for name, age, and gender.
So on mine, after like a couple seconds, it just suddenly updated it, and I was like, whoa, that was really cool.
Right.
You can see at the bottom left that it has December 15 version. So that's where I watch to see further updates.
Right. Right. So this is, oh, there it is. And it said a title. It's not exactly, so it is what you meant. Like it summarized the question into that, right?
Right.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
why I said like that was just awesome.
Right. Now, here's the thing right now. This is, I think is completely working code. This, I just copy pasted. Okay, almost there. The only thing that it was missing is a return here. You see, that return right there in line 12 is what it was missing. But now it shows the GUI. Yeah, it's completely working code. So that was amazing. The only mistake is that, and you can point it out. So you should add a return after showing the GUI. Let me see what it does. Here's the corrected code. So it's not going to change anything except for that return. Let me see. I wish they put an option so that I do not have to wait for it to type it. But notice how I didn't told it where. I just told it at a return after showing the GUI. So it has to interpret that. That's the point why I made it like that. And it still did it exactly where I needed it to be. So that was
Yes.
correct.
I have a question. Wouldn't it be more interesting to tell it what you just experienced? That you don't tell it
And see if it, well,
but tell it, oi, there was a problem. I'm
Right,
already seeing the
right,
message box without pressing
right.
the button.
That is a very interesting concept. The problem in this particular instance is that it was going to take me more typing what my issue was than telling it what to do. So that was the reason why. But sometimes in certain situations, I might just say, hold on, this code is doing this particular thing. What should I do to fix that? Which is, to your point, more helpful than just telling it what to do.
Well,
but in this particular instance, it was just that it was easier.
We did a video, I think, where we were taking the errors and pasting it in and saying it had this error. Can you fix it? And it did a pretty.
It gave a very good troubleshooting steps, at least, right?
Can I just ask a question? Is when you tell it where the error was and when it fixes it, does it learn from that? So in the future, it won't make the same.
For that session, it probably does.
In
right.
this particular chat, right?
How can you tell it to add it to its AI? Part of AI is it learns from.
You got to understand how it works and the weighting that's going to factor in. It doesn't know, hey, this is the right answer for everybody in every instance, right? It needs a lot of repetition to see that pattern to finally start using it. However, this is where if you create your own environment and you get to train it, that is when you can do what you're saying, Guy.
Right.
Well, no, absolutely. And you get to train it. Now, how do you get your own environment and how do you train it? And the question is,
that's what we're going to be working on.
Can we share that environment between us?
No.
Well, two things on that. The first part of your question, we are investigating that because there is a way. We have read about it, but we haven't done it. So we're not really sure how that goes, but that is actually paid. It's a paid service from them.
Yes.
So if at some point we actually do that, I don't think it's just going to be like, hey, we're going to share it to everybody because we have costs. So that's for sure.
No, absolutely.
We'll have to see how that really works.
I think it's an awesome subscription opportunity for you guys, for us to say, well, we'll pay a subscription and
we don't know.
It's the thing is, Guy, it's not a buffet.
Right.
So we need a subscription where you're actually charged based on how much you're using it.
Right. Absolutely. So
that's not easy. That's a much more complicated thing.
Right.
Well, I'm sure there's some way for you to monetize it, so we get the benefit of the training and you get rewarded for it.
Right. But let's do this. We're going to continue talking about this on the next call because we're almost done. The only thing that I did want to mention before we go is here, after you get an answer from the GPT, you have these thumbs up and thumbs down buttons that Joe and we are assuming that when you hit thumbs up, somehow it's sent to their AI and it gets embedded into them. We cannot.
It should apply the weight, right?
It should apply some weight to that. That's a good answer, but we're not really sure if that happens because I don't see that in the documentation at all, what that means.
Right.
Okay. But in any case, we should assume that, right? We could assume it, but we will see how that goes. And later on, we will discuss a little bit more about that. I think we can go to the other call. Right.
Thank you, everyone. You guys have a great holiday, however you celebrate it.
Yeah.